How the heck are you?
Yep, that's it. Miller.
You know what? I'll try to bring you back some fish.
And Moulton.
Okay, you drop it off at the front door. Probably in the mailbox.
Broadcasting live from the Kobe Cooling Remote Studios, where it's always cool and comfortable.
Yes! Oh, I like
It's up to you now. It's up to you.
I like it.
Now, the best local sports show this town has ever heard. Here's Miller and Moulton.
You're live. How the heck are you? Miller and Moulton on this second day of July. Officially now, we have begun the second half of 2020. Today, 184 of our 366-day year.
Which is the same as the heat index today outside.
Miller and Moulton on this fine Thursday. It's our final show of the week. Taking tomorrow off with the holiday. We'll be back on Monday. 479-5551 is how you can always chime in via the Williamson Brothers Marine and Roofing text and talk line. And we encourage you to sign up if you haven't already for the Miller and Moulton YouTube and Twitch.tv channel. They are interactive and they are free. How are you on this fine morning?
I'm all right. Long day yesterday.
Really?
Long day yesterday, yes.
Well, what do you got going on? You're
Well,
not teaching anymore? You're not working? What?
To be frank, we had a COVID scare. I mean,
okay.
there's no other way. My daughter came in contact with someone that tested positive.
Okay.
So the wife and daughter went to leave the ballpark, and that wasn't good enough for me because I needed results now.
Well, first off, are they back from the ballpark yet?
Yeah, they took them 15 minutes start to finish. From the time they
Really?
left my house, our house, until they get home, it was 50 minutes. It's not that bad at all.
To go to Hammond Stadium there?
Correct.
Wow.
My wife said it was very efficient. But they wouldn't test my daughter because she's not over the age of 18.
Gotcha.
She was the one that was exposed. Kind of felt she needed to be tested.
Right.
So you can pay and get results immediately. I opted for that.
Oh,
so
okay.
$360 later, 3 negative tests, worth the peace of mind.
Good deal.
But I will tell you, for those that, a lot of you are, a lot of different opinions on this. But I started, after I found out late, so I found out late Tuesday night. And as soon as they found out that they were positive, they called us. You start doing the old contact tracing thing if you want to go that route. It is very difficult to try to figure out all the people that you have been in contact with from that point. I mean, just around the people that I know. Well, I had been to a Publix. I had been to a couple of restaurants. I mean, it starts adding up pretty quickly.
Right.
Of how fast you can be in contact with numerous people and so on and so on. Fortunately, all 3 of us tested negative, so it's no big deal. But my mom was here on Friday. That was after the person had tested. When it comes back, it turned out it was Friday. My mom's 76 years old. That scares the bejeebers out of you.
Sure.
And I had plans yesterday to play golf. I canceled that. I wasn't going to go around anybody. And I'd feel awful if I spread the virus to someone. I'm not as cavalier as a lot of folks are with this. So
don't be a spreader.
That's it. And not even fertilizer right now. You're not supposed to spread anything.
Well, I will say during this time that we're living in, because for a lot of people, they have allergies. And, lately we've been hearing about this Saharan dust, which apparently is a real thing. And it's activated people's allergies maybe a little bit earlier than they would normally get them. Like I'm an August, September allergy guy in Florida. But in the last 24 hours, my allergies have been activated. At least that's what I think it is. But during the coronavirus, you get a sniffle, all right, and it stops you in your tracks. All of a sudden, you sneeze twice, all right, and you blow your nose, and somebody looks right at you, and goes, you sick? No, I don't have a headache. I can smell, I can taste. I feel good, actually. I feel as if I had a little, allergy thing here.
Well, I think the other side of it is your other symptoms amplify. Because I technically had a symptom, which was one of the reasons that I wanted to go get tested.
Okay.
But then other symptoms, like you said, a headache. Well, I had a headache most of yesterday. Now, was it the anxiety over the fact that I needed to get a test, or I had a headache? I don't know. But I mean, I will say, when that's on your brain, the anxiety level in this house yesterday was amped up several notches by both my wife and I.
Because if you've been paying attention, which my guess is over the last 4 months, I don't know how you haven't caught what the quote unquote symptoms are for the coronavirus. And there's like 6 of them. And, it basically starts off, you feel like you've got, a little bit of a cold or a little bit of a flu. Well, I mean, we all know what those symptoms are. And like you said, if you get one, does this mean? And so, I don't want to say that a little bit of panic sets in, but I do think that worry sets in for those around you at the very least.
Absolutely.
And obviously with my situation in the last 6 weeks, I don't want to say my wife's on hyper alert or anything. All right. But there's yellow tape before my room. The police are not allowed to cross. That's all. I mean, I'm one false step away from a quarantine here, in which I'm pretty sure it's an allergy attack, but, well, we shall see. 479-5551, 479-5551 on the Williamson Brothers Marine and Roofing text and talk line. There were a few pretty interesting things that happened after we signed off yesterday. I don't know if that's how you felt, and I know you were running around and you were busy. I mean, the big headliner is the reports are that the NFL is going to cut the preseason in half. Well, heck, we saw that coming. So,
yeah, I don't find that as I barely find that news. Not to be a smart aleck, David, but oh my goodness, the NFL decided they're going to cut part of the preseason. On the shock factor, this comes in at -17.
Right. I mean, they play these games as a cash grab. They're not going to have any fans at these games. Hence, no longer a cash grab. Hence, should we be playing them? And if you're Commissioner Goodell, you've been wanting to reduce the preseason by 1 or 2 games for 10 years. So you're all for this because in the back of your mind, you're like, if we could do this once, this could be like the universal DH. If I can get this in here one time, this thing might stick.
Slide that sucker right in. And it's the one area, I guess you could argue that Goodell has always been on the player's side. He works for his bosses.
Fans.
He works, yeah, you're right. He works for his bosses. But in this one instance, Roger Goodell has always been on the side of the fan and the player. You think the fan gets unfairly charged for meaningless football games, and the players have to play 2 games that they don't want to play.
Yeah, I mean, he has flat said that the fans get ripped off. That's when he was popular, remember? That's when they didn't boo him at the drafts. Those first few years when, he had an Adam Silver honeymoon. We forget Goodell was popular. I mean, he really was. When he first came on board, he was the hammer. He was speaking to the fans. Okay, people liked how he gave everybody the bear hug at the draft. He just seemed like a cool guy. You'd want to have a beer with the hammer.
Yeah, I'd still like to have a beer with Raj.
Raj, huh?
Yeah.
He just seems like somebody you could just walk up to and call Raj. Hey,
yes.
Raj.
Hey, Raj,
like
what's up?
Like Maltby? Okay, you think of him kind of like Maltby?
No.
No?
No, just Raj.
Okay.
I never thought of Roger Maltby as Raj.
Really?
No.
They always throw it down to him. What you got, Raj? Hey, Raj.
He was almost a Tom Brady. It was Roger Maltby. To me, it was you had to have the last name with the first name for me to understand who he was.
Okay.
Because, Tom's not Tom. He's Tom Brady.
No, he's Tom Brady. Correct.
Same with Drew Brees.
But the Ivy League is thinking out loud. Don't know if anyone's going to follow them. Heck, we don't know if they're actually going to follow their own thoughts that they've been having this week. But earlier in the week, the Ivy League was discussing whether or not they were going to play football in the fall or whether or not they should play it in the spring. Now, they've gone so far as to say, maybe we should just play conference games and play them in the spring. And I believe in the Ivy League, that would mean a 7-game season. And then they're going to vote on this. Don't know if they do it this week or they do it next week. I think it's next week. But the Ivy League is apparently seriously considering. And as we talked about earlier in the week, what is fascinating about this is right now, the Ivy League states are where things are best in terms of fewest number of active cases. They're either at status quo or their numbers are going down, where in 3/4 of the country, number of positive tests are going up. The Northeast, right now, that's the good color states on the map right now. It wasn't the case 2 months ago. It is right now. So it's interesting that while things are, quote unquote, going well for them, they're the only ones that are talking, Mark, out loud about pushing the season back.
From a college standpoint, you're right. Actually, the governor of Michigan yesterday, 2 days ago, offered the same thing with high school football in the state of Michigan.
Well,
I mean, and I know that's far different than college, but she suggested moving high school football to the spring of 2021.
Well, it was on the FHSAA docket yesterday. Unfortunately, I don't know if it got discussed. I don't think it got voted on, but it was discussed, I believe. I mean, Greg Hardwick sent out a tweet yesterday in which he said, look at this. And it was a proposal to switch the baseball and football seasons in Florida.
I don't get the whole switching because that's not the first time that's been brought up of moving baseball. Someone suggested that with college as well. So we can't play football in the fall, but we can play baseball? Someone explain. No. You got to explain that logic to me of switching sports. It doesn't make any sense.
Well, and I don't think that it was a coronavirus switch. I think it was just a time of year heat switch. I've always thought in Florida they should play football in the winter. There's no lightning. It's a lot better heat-wise. To me, switch basketball and football in Florida.
I mean, if that's the case, it puts a big wrench from the collegiate standpoint because you're offering early enrolling scholarships and all of these things. And to me, it doesn't work with the landscape of college football. It works given the fact that there's only a small percentage of high school football players that play college. For the rest of the high school players, it makes it a ton of sense, David. It just doesn't for the elite kid.
And not to, I don't know how this will not come off as sounding arrogant, but if I were running Florida high school sports, all right, and yes, I would hear from the college ranks going, well, this is a total nightmare for us, blah, blah, blah. And I would be like, yeah, I don't know what to tell you. Outside of Texas and California, this is where the talent is. And you could make some changes if you need to for our kids, because you need our kids. And we're doing this for safety. We're doing this to get out of the lightning. We're doing this to get out of the heat. I don't know what to tell you. If you want to change your rules a little bit, push them back, et cetera, either that or you just have to do a better job of scouting our kids. And you need to offer them earlier. Don't know what to tell you. I mean, think about it. California, Texas, and Florida, from a high school standpoint, they could turn around, look at the college ranks, and go, yeah, we can do whatever we want. All right? This is where the talent is. Okay? We're not going to capitulate to you. You can capitulate to us. You want to yell at the other 47 states, knock yourself out.
I wish one day you could be in charge of sports for the whole world. Because your ability to tell an entire industry to go F themselves because you think you're right is one of the greatest attributes in the world.
I know I'm right. On this one, I know I'm right.
Of course you are. How could you be wrong? It's your idea.
Well, it's not my idea, but it's an idea that others have championed as well. But I mean, first off, if Florida did it, it would make sense. It would. You get out of the rainy lightning season, you get out of the heat. I mean, on paper, there's a lot of merit to it. I mean, you could argue to have a lot more people in the stands.
David, you could just start the season in October and accomplish the same thing.
Well,
if you want to keep it in the fall, because you're trying to, I mean, what you're suggesting, and I did not know we were going here at the start of the show, which is nothing unusual for us, but what you're suggesting is completely changing the way something's been done, and if that's fine, I get it, but it seems to make more sense to me. And look, I'm not that bright, but it seems to make more sense to try to keep in line with the 120 Division I schools and the other schools that play football and have done things a certain way. Instead of telling them, hey, you got to change your whole recruiting system because we're one of the 3 best states, I think if you just moved it a month, if you literally just started in October and finished around Christmas instead of Thanksgiving, I think you'd be fine.
I think you'd get protests, the whole 2 or 3 sport athlete, and one season would overlap with the other, and a kid who plays, multiple sports. And I know that we wish that more kids did and didn't specialize, but my guess is, Mark, that would be the biggest objection to doing that. I've recommended for the longest time that they should play on Saturday mornings. We've heard from a lot of people involved in the local sports scene that from an officiating standpoint and availability of fields and all that it would be a nightmare. That's Pop Warner time or that's JV time. And it's just, no, you can't do it that way. Oh, all right. But I just thought it was interesting. It was being discussed yesterday, at least for a short time, amongst the FHSAA, the moving of the football season.
They have recommended, however, in Florida to push back the start date for practice to August 10th. That is what came out of yesterday.
Right, 2 weeks, which certainly makes you believe that the season's not going to start when it normally does, right?
Oh, really? Now that didn't even ever hit me that way. I didn't, the fact that high school football has to start in July so that they can play a game of August is laughable to me.
Well,
I mean, I'm an old guy. I grew up where basically you got 2 weeks and you played a game. I mean, this is a few days earlier than we started when I was in high school. August 14th seemed to be at the kind of the go date in Michigan. And I get it. We're not Florida. I'm not trying to say that we are. But to me, that we're going to have to start late for high school kids because they got a couple week late start, that's laughable.
So you're right now thinking that we're just going to cut, instead of having 4 weeks to get ready for the jamborees in the first game, if you only have 2, I don't know what to tell you.
Jamborees could go away. Jamborees could go away. That's 4 teams together. It's a lot more people. It's a lot harder to social distance. I think your jamborees could go away, David. Because aren't those typically 4 and 6 teams getting together?
I thought it was just 2.
Is it? Okay. I thought at one point they had like 4 teams and they were controlled scrimmages, but maybe I'm wrong. So
I thought it was just essentially a preseason game, and they call them jamborees.
Gotcha. I thought at one time, and maybe I'm mistaken. I thought that they had maybe that's in the spring. But look, if the NFL can go from they're cutting 2 preseason games, they're planning on starting on time. I do believe if high school shows up at August 10th, no offense to the great high school coaches and how much work they do, they'll have to work a touch harder to get them ready for opening day.
Well, and as we've talked with college and pro football this year, those that have experienced staffs, returning quarterbacks, experienced team could have a little bit more of an advantage at the start of the season than they would normally have this year, if that's what we're doing to, preseason, if you will, and preseason practice time. 479-5551, 479-5551. To chime in via the Williams & Brothers Marine and Roofing text and talk line along the lines of a season and when it is you are to start a season. Rick Pitino threw out there yesterday in which he said, hey, I can't wait to be back. But if you're asking me, I think we shouldn't play any non-conference games this year. I think we should start the season right after January 1st, and we should all just play our conference schedule and award bids accordingly and, play in the early part of 2021 and then call it a day.
I don't have any problem with any of that because a lot of the schools have already announced that at Thanksgiving they're sending the kids home and they're not coming back until after the first of the year. That's what East Carolina's doing. That's what Michigan State's doing. I know there are others. One my son goes to, one I'm an alumni from, so I see what's going on there. But I think Florida's doing the same thing. And we've had several people of our collegiate reporters talk to us, and that seems to be what a lot of colleges are at least talking about right now. Sending everybody home at Thanksgiving. They come back after the first of the year. So the basketball team has to stay for 6 weeks and practice while the students all go home so that they can make money for their university and travel all over the country on airplanes to go to places like Hawaii, Puerto Rico, the Bahamas, Orlando, wherever else for these Fort Myers for these tournaments.
Right.
Okay.
Right. They're not employees, though.
No.
Nope.
But all the students go home for 6-7 weeks, and the student athletes cannot.
Correct.
Okay. They're employees.
Catching on, Mark. You're catching on, Mark.
Just try. So I think when I saw the headline, I didn't even have to read the article. I agreed with everything. I mean, I just looked at it and went, yes. Now, if they wanted to start, there's a lot of money in these holiday tournaments. We've got one right here in our backyard. Pretty good one this year.
Yeah.
So, but that one makes the most sense to me, based on what they're doing with kids on campus, David. I know it's a farce, student athlete. I get it. But doesn't there have to be at least some synergy this year between what you're doing with the student population and what you're doing with your quote-unquote student athletes?
Nah. Come on. Wait, we're going to start worrying about appearances now? Really?
Well, the coronavirus should at least make that something to consider. That's all.
Come on. What's happened to you? What's happened to you? Come on now. We're big-time college sports. We're not about academics. We're about money and winning. Where have you been? Did you go on vacation? What happened to you? Did you hit your head? Don't you know what this is all about?
Oh, I know what it's about. It's about money, but I think at some point a little logic needs to be applied.
Well, now that's something totally different. I thought you were just talking synergy. I thought you were worried about appearances' sake. Please. Like the NCAA's ever been worried about appearances. Miller and Moulton. A lot more out there. A lot of meat on the bone. Grant Boone will join us in a couple hours. We'll talk about life on the PGA Tour with someone who broadcasts professional golf on a regular basis. PGA, Champions, Masters. Grant Boone to join us in a couple hours. Starting Five is next. Thanks so much for waking up with us on this second day of July. It's our final show of the week. We're off tomorrow. So we wish those of you a happy 4th of July holiday. Be safe, be well. But thanks for beginning your holiday weekend, if you will, with us here on Miller and Moulton, Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio.
The boys of NASCAR are back on the track.
Coming up high, on your radio.
Saturday, it's Xfinity Series racing from Indianapolis.
Man, this is awesome.
We start the engines at 2:30.
Man, this is great.
NASCAR, live on Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio. Presented by Kobe Cooling and Compass Drug Screening.
Green flag, NASCAR is back. We are by force.
Whether you stop by a locally owned Napa Auto Parts, Napa Auto Care, or visit Napa online, if you need help with your roof, you can count on Napa Know-How.
For professional roofing, the name you need to know is D.R. Martineau.
Dan Martineau here, owner of D.R. Martineau Roofing of Southwest Florida. I've been repairing and replacing roofs for 27 years. We operate with integrity, knowledge, and service. Google DRM Roofing or call 239-332-1441.
License number CCC 1326954.
For professional roofing, the name you need to know is D.R. Martineau.
We've got our good friend Tim Meister, owner of the Floor Meisters in Naples, on the phone. We're talking about their huge selection and great pricing on Core-Tec flooring. Tim, tell us what's new at the store.
Right now we have 90 colors of Core-Tec in stock, ready to go pick up, put down as soon as you want it. Everything from starting at $299 on up with lifetime warranty.
And it's not just the many colors of Core-Tec that you have. You also have other Core-Tec products as well.
We also carry the Core-Tec stone product. Looks like tile, looks like stone, but it's Core-Tec, so you get the softness, quietness, and the easy installation to go with it. We also have Core-Tec wood, look of wood, real wood, but with a more stable core for Southwest Florida's humidity.
If you haven't been to the Floor Meisters, you really owe it to yourself to visit the store. 6281 Naples Boulevard, right next to Costco, or go online, floormeisters.com. That's floormeisters.com.
Listen to the Dan Patrick Show at work.
Never boring, that's for sure.
Streaming 24/7 at foxsportsfm.com.
We are Fox Sports.
Pool need a checkup? Call the doctor, the Pool Doctor.
Hi, Dr. Mark here. Is your pool a pain to operate? Automation is the answer. Use your phone to turn on your spa, and it'll be warm when you get home. Free on-site evaluations. We're a family company, and for over 40 years, we've been doing business right.
The prescription is the Pool Doctor for award-winning pool service, repairs, and unheard of $39 diagnostic calls. That's mypooldoctor.com or 239-574-1133. State certified CPC 057088.
Dial star 2020. Friends, I care.
Do you panic when someone says we need to talk? Well, here it goes. We need to talk, but don't panic. This is a good kind of talk. Those glasses and contacts you're sporting, they're just in the way of you having the freedom to enjoy a more flexible lifestyle. France Eye Care wants to offer you $1,000 off bilateral LASIK, the savings that will allow you to celebrate better vision and a better life. Dr. Jonathan France and his expert team of surgeons want to help you see your future in 2020 through the advanced technology of laser vision correction. So what if you've been told you're not a candidate for LASIK? France Eye Care wants you to know there are other options available. But to learn more, you need to call now. Schedule your free screening. Take advantage of that $1,000 off bilateral LASIK special. Financing options available. It's time for you to experience better vision and a better life. Dial star 2020 from your mobile phone.
Friends, I care.
It's Kaylee Cody
Nope.
with your Kobe Cooling Tip of the Day. It's
I did not.
summertime, so it's hot. Make sure you change your AC filters every month and have your air conditioners cleaned twice a year by NATE certified mechanics, like my dad. All the mechanics at Kobe Cooling are NATE certified because you deserve the best. If your AC stops working, turn it off and call 239-482-1542 and relax. We will take it from there. 24/7, same low prices, never no more time charge. When you think of air conditioning companies, we hope you'll think of Kobe Cooling. No nonsense, no pressure. We're the company your neighbors use. License CACO 57313. Kobe, most trusted name in the business since 1949.
Thank you for your business all these years.
Here we go! Now back to Miller and Moulton. No. This is Miller and Moulton.
You're live.
Yeah! 29 minutes past 6 a.m. on this second day of July in 2020 as we officially begin the second half of the year. Miller and Moulton on Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio, streaming at millerandmoulton.com, broadcasting live on the Miller and Moulton YouTube and twitch.tv channels. You can always chime into the show in the Twitch chat room and in the Williamson Brothers Marine and Roofing text and talk line, 479-5551, 479-5551. And at 6:30, it is time now for
The Starting Five. 5 big stories that you need to know. This is Miller and Moulton Starting Five. Fox Sports Radio and foxsportsfm.com.
We mentioned it a moment ago. Reports are the NFL is going to shorten the preseason. They're going to cut it in half from 4 games to 2. They're going to eliminate weeks 1 and 4, at least in terms of the opponents. but they're going to have to, fiddle with the schedule a little bit because some teams were hosting weeks 2 and 3 games, and some teams were playing on the road both those weeks, and they want to make it so that everybody's playing a home game and everybody's playing a road game. And but everybody's to show up at training camp beginning July 28th, and then the first preseason games reportedly will take place between August 20th and 24th, and then the next preseason games will take place in the final 4 or so days of August, and then that'll be it. And then we'll get ready for the September 10th opener at Arrowhead with the Chiefs hosting the Texans. Will there be fans at that game? Mark, the one thing we know that as of today, there will not be fans in Buffalo at Bills games. Governor Cuomo yesterday, in talking about phase 4 for the state of New York, said that, yeah, but nobody can show up at any live sporting events. Now, that's as of now. Things could change 9-10 weeks from now. But as of today, if the Bills were to play this coming weekend, fans would not be allowed at the game or in the parking lot to tailgate. There would be no broken tables, no jumping on the tables. I mean, talk about a cramp in your lifestyle. These are Bills home games we're talking about here.
I'm willing to make a rather large wager that if they were to shut down the parking lot at the Bills games, that Bills fans would find another place to tailgate. You cannot stop a Bills fan from jumping off of the roof of an RV onto a folding table. It is something that you can only try to contain them. You cannot stop them.
No, you can't. I mean, they channel their inner Talladega infield.
Right.
Behavior.
I mean, much like LT in his heyday, David, you might stop him a couple of times from getting to the quarterback, but it really wasn't on you. It was on him.
Right. At some point, you're getting sacked and you're probably going to fumble.
Right.
At least once. That is true. But that's as of today, that's how it would go. Let's talk once again about whether or not the Redskins should change their name. Okay. We've been down this road before. The owner of the Redskins has, pulled a Charlton Heston in front of the NRA from about 15 years ago, rip it out of my cold, dead hands. It's not going to happen. And it is franchise. And the National Football League has not put any pressure on him to change the name. They have said, hey, he owns the team. It's ultimately it's his call, and we're not going to force him to change the name because they also know that if they go down the road with the Redskins, they're probably going to have to go down the road with the Chiefs. So, the NFL is not going to do that. Well, there's a lot of pressure being put on the sponsors that the Redskins have. And, they would have the typical, the Geico and the Nike and, the Fortune 500 companies, the Pepsi, spending money with the Redskins. Well, a lot of pressure is now being put on those sponsors to stop doing business with the Redskins until they change their name. Mark, the one thing that we have said consistently, follow the money. And usually when change along these lines happens, it's not because someone has, quote unquote, seen the light. It's because financially they have seen the light. So we'll see if this goes anywhere. My guess is it won't.
Me either.
But during the last 5-6 weeks, we've gone a few places that, quite frankly, we didn't think we'd go 6, 7, 8 weeks ago. So we'll see if this time this movement has some legs to it. Dwight Howard is not going to start the NBA season that's going to resume at the end of this month in Orlando with the Lakers. He's apparently dealing with a personal situation. The Lakers, however, made the decision yesterday that they are not going to drop him off their roster. They are hopeful that at some point Dwight will get whatever the situation is worked out and he will return and play for them. And as we were talking to Nick Nurse, the head coach of the Raptors yesterday, and we were like, hey, you're one of the 4 or 5 teams that's got a real shot at this. Obviously, the Lakers are one of those 4 or 5 teams also.
And Howard's a big part of it. He's not the Howard from a decade ago, but he also plays 25 to 30 minutes a night. Yeah. He plays down on the post defensively. He also plays on the post offensively, which lets Davis roam a little bit more. He would change how they not only attack but defend with him not on the court. And that's a big deal to the Lakers.
Right. And remember, the Lakers had a player opt out, and they had signed J.R. Smith to replace, was it Avery Bradley or no? I forget who the guard was who opted out on the Lakers when they signed J.R. Smith to replace him.
I heard
they had a decision here with Dwight Howard, and they decided, we're going to roll the dice with the big fella.
Heard a great line about J.R. Smith with the Lakers. Just said, don't expect him to play. He is essentially break glass in case of emergency.
I think it's just somebody for LeBron to talk to occasionally, in the bubble. Speaking of the bubble, the NBA yesterday was asked, hey, how much does bubble costing you? And they said, a cool $150 million to pull this off. Now, I don't know if every team's chipping in $5 million to pay for it, or whether or not the league is just, cutting all the checks. And remember, the media's got to pay for themselves. These are just the teams and the hotel rooms and transportation and accommodations and safety measures and all that.
$50,000 at least per media member to get in the bubble. That's what it's costing their company. About $50,000 per media member is what the cost is.
Right. As you joked a couple of weeks ago when we brought this up the first time, there are companies that will spend more on the accommodations than they are on their employee for the year.
Trust us, we're not lying.
No.
We are speaking from personal experience here.
Another NBA player decided to opt out yesterday. Houston's forward Thabo Sefolosha has decided, nope, I'm out. I'm not playing. Ivy League considering playing football in the spring and only playing conference games. The Penn State athletic director, by the way, was asked about playing football in the spring, and he said, and I quote, "It is literally our last resort." So, there you have it.
Real Sports did their most recent episode, gets into race and sports and a lot of things, but they did get into the coronavirus. And they spent a good chunk of time talking with, they had the Big 12 commissioner, they had the Big 10 commissioner. I mean, they had a lot of folks on there. And Bob Bowlesby?
Yeah, he's the Big 12
commissioner. Right, I just want to make sure I get his name right. They asked him about games getting canceled. Brian Gumbel asked him point blank, what do you do? And he says, look, right now, our intent is on starting on time and playing every game. But there are scenarios for what if one team plays 9 games and one team plays 7? What if you can't have fans in Ames, Iowa, but you can here? And I will say that he at least gave me the impression that they are doing everything that they can do, that they have all kinds of, even though they haven't told us, there are 40 different scenarios sitting there waiting for them. We shall see.
Which is funny because, I think there's like 4, but that's how I think,
So, I mean,
not all the time. I mean, as I've joked, I can overanalyze a 3-car funeral, but oftentimes I simplify. At the end of the day, oftentimes I will go, well, I just see that the options are this, this, and this.
And from the sounds of it, and maybe he just it was a bold-faced lie, but from the sounds of it, that they've gone over a multitude of scenarios, and they keep using the same language, fluid situation, and constantly changing, but it is. And they're looking and going, how am I supposed to answer what's going to happen in the middle of August or the middle of September? We don't know.
And just a sidebar here for a second. To me, Mark, what I think, besides obviously having to stop the season, to me, what would be otherwise most disruptive is if you've got one team that's like, yeah, we need to take a couple weeks off. Everybody else in the conference can keep playing. But for whatever reason, pick the school and pick the conference, and they go, yeah, we got an outbreak here. We got to quarantine. We got to not play the next 2 weeks. Then, what do you do? Are these games that you then make up at the end of the season? Do these become forfeits? Do these become games that never get played? At which point you could have at the end of the year teams playing a different number of conference games. How are we going to determine champion? Are we going to do it by winning percentage? Can this actually work in a certain team's favor that they only played 6 conference games instead of 8? That to me would be the most disruptive besides the actual everyone stopping of the season. Rick Pitino suggested college basketball should only play conference games this year, and they should play them all after the first of the year. Bill Cowher and his wife, as you referenced yesterday, Mark, I don't know if you did it on the air. I know you did it during a commercial break. Bill Cowher and his wife have both disclosed that they've tested positive for the coronavirus, as have 14 Oklahoma football players. Major League Baseball news. The Field of Dreams game. Remember that when they announced it last year? It was going to be the Yankees and the White Sox, I believe, in Iowa. They're building a special, stadium and this, that, and the other thing. The Yankees are not going to play in it. It's going to be the Cardinals instead. There is a movement inside Major League Baseball amongst former MVPs to change the name of the MVP trophy. And I ask this in all sincerity because I did not know the answer to this. And obviously, I'm a bit of a goober and pay attention to a lot of these things. But, Mark, do you know whose name is on the American League and National League Most Valuable Player trophy?
No.
Former Commissioner Kennesaw Mountain Landis. Well, it turns out that Mr. Landis was not a big fan of black people. And when he was commissioner, baseball was not integrated. And he reportedly did not do a whole heck of a lot to ever get it integrated. Now, he died before Jackie Robinson crossed the color barrier. All right. But there are quite a few. Mike Schmidt has been very vocal, Terry Pendleton, and a few others who have come out and said. Barry Larkin even said he got a phone call when he won the MVP from Joe Morgan. Okay, in which Joe was saying to him, it's kind of a bummer that, so-and-so's name is on this trophy and this, that, and the other thing. And so there is a movement amongst former Most Valuable Player Award winners in baseball to change the name of the Most Valuable Player Award. I would recommend just taking his name off it and just making it the MVP. I don't know why it has to be named.
Never knew his name was on it.
I didn't either.
Never knew his name was on it.
I did not either.
I mean, I know a few, different awards in baseball have names that I've wondered about, but I've never heard it called that.
Nope.
Never heard it mentioned.
Apparently, his name is bigger on the trophy than MVP. And somebody even joked that his name is bigger and more prominently displayed on the trophy than the winner of the MVP on the trophy. So, NHL news, they haven't made it official, I don't believe, but it was widely reported on Canada's Independence Day yesterday that Edmonton and Toronto are going to be where the NHL restarts.
And as you would think, the Eastern Conference will be playing in Edmonton. The Western Conference will be playing in Toronto because, well, Gary Bettman. I blame it on him.
I guess they just don't want the Maple Leafs to, quote-unquote, play at home, even though none of these games are going to take place in front of fans. But I guess they just think, the travel advantage? That Toronto would get to sleep.
At home?
At home? We don't know. Is the NHL going to have a bubble? I mean, we haven't heard the specifics as to what it is the NHL is going to do.
I believe they're going with an igloo.
In August, that'll be
it's Edmonton.
All right. And finally, because this got some attention in the last couple of weeks, when some of the players in the WNBA started opting out for social justice reasons, then it was revisited that arguably the best player in the league, Maya Moore, had done this over a year ago. She has not played since the 2018 season. Maya Moore put her career on hold because while she was at UConn, she met Jeffrey Irons. Jeffrey Irons was convicted for burglary and assault and sentenced to 50 years in prison when he was a teenager. He had always maintained his innocence. They apparently had very scant evidence against Mr. Irons, but an all-white jury convicted the poor black teen and sentenced him to 50 years. And so Maya Moore worked on his defense team for over a year. And yesterday, 40-year-old Jeffrey Irons, after serving 22 years in prison for a crime that he did not commit, was freed. And Maya Moore was one of the handful that met him when he walked out of the jail. So there you have it. And at 14 minutes before 7 o'clock, that mark is...
The starting five. 5 big stories that you need to know. This is Miller and Moulton starting five. Fox Sports Radio and FoxSportsFM.com.
We'll come back with a poll question, and then we'll get to your thoughts and comments as to what's going on in the sports world. Grant Boone in the 8 o'clock hour to talk a little PGA Tour.